Welcome to another live stream, Legends. Well, guys, Bitcoin and the majority of the market continues to pull back a little bit, but is it time to worry, or is this actually a very healthy pullback for the market? Of course, nobody knows for sure. For me personally, this is simply put, Bitcoin is at a buy level for me. It does look weak, I'll give it that. But because of the tight invalidation due to being at trend support rather than resistance, I would always rather be buying support. So I actually have a couple positions open on Bitcoin. I have a position open on Solana. I have a position open on Troll. So yeah, we'll get right into it. Basically, two positions on Bitcoin. One is a scalp. One is more of a swing that I am laddering into. As far as the swing guys goes, you guys, so I've been talking about this in my last couple streams that if we set a higher high of any kind now, I mean, on the weekly, it does look a little bit rough. I'll give it that. The fact that we have this swing fail here, losing that level, coming back down, it does look weak. I will give it that. However, that being said, since we did go slightly higher and on the shorter time frames, there would actually be some decent well, I mean, we can check out on the 4 hour at least. Well, again, basically a swing fail. We did get that, and we are going back down to test the support of that range, basically. So nothing really crazy happened with that price action, right? I mean, when we're looking at the 4 hour here, we have this high. We set a slightly higher high. Our lowest point between the two is right here. As far as a typical Stuber fib setup goes, that is how I pull my fib, and that gives us our range. So not every trade setup like this is going to work out, but from a risk reward point of view, I'm just basically looking at this as, you know, it's tight invalidation for some sort of a swing setup, right? So if we drop down into my green box here, basically I will be adding into my position, dropping my average entry down on that swing position, which is lower leverage. And if we end up dropping that green, if we end up losing basically 109.8 thousand US dollars at that point, I think it's possible we tumble a little, well, significantly lower. Or if we end up setting some sort of structure where, you know, we do something like that, then okay, it might be ending quickly just because we end up invalidating that downtrend. But at this point, this is basically, like I said, it's just a buy level for me. If this was a 5-minute setup, I would basically be looking to ladder in something like this. And then getting stopped out down here if we ended up losing that support. So on the 4 hour, I actually waited for it to get a little deeper, closer to that double bottom territory. That's where my average entry is on that so far. And like I said, if I can pull it down more so into the middle of this pocket, if we get there, then it's one of those times where even if it doesn't play out, because again, guys, not every trade setup does play out. Obviously, every trader loses trades, but a big part of trading isn't about winning every trade. It's about controlling those losses and having good risk reward, right? So on a setup like this, if I can bring my average entry down kind of into the middle of the pocket here and basically have a stop, you know, relatively tight like this, if we do end up getting that reversal, I mean, that's where we're looking at more those large risk reward setups, right? So the loss on a position like that versus how much the reward could potentially be, that's basically a 10 to 1, right? If we end up hitting the 214 target, it's basically a 10 to 1. Even the 0.5 fib target, that's still a 6.5 to 1. If we end up getting back to the top of the range, we're looking at a 12.5 to 1. So you obviously don't need to win a whole bunch of those to be profitable when your risk reward is like that, right? So again, as it stands right now, basically I'm looking at this as this is currently a support level. Yes, it looks weak. Support always looks weak, just like resistance always looks strong, right? We've never looked as strong as we did right here, but what happened? We got that rejection, right? And looking for that opposite setup, if we had a fib pull something like this, you guys will remember a couple weeks ago, or was that last week? I think 2 weeks ago or early last week. Whenever we got this swing fail, I actually did end up taking a short and I fucked up my execution. That is on me. The trade setup itself played out because we never broke that 115 to the upside. So again, it looked like we were breaking out. It looked like, it looked like we were very strong, but we end up getting that swing fail and then going and retesting support. So I would be looking at basically the exact same thing on the opposite side of things if we end up dropping into this box here. Waiting for confirmation would obviously even be a little bit safer, where you wait for something like that where we lose it and then regain that level, basically double bottom. If we regain that support, that would be a great retest to, or again, even just like laddering into some longs at that point. You would have that additional confirmation that there was a bit of a liquidity grab, right? But as it stands right now, that's kind of my thoughts there. I also did take a bit of a long earlier today, actually just a couple hours ago or an hour ago, whenever that was. Basically looking at the same thing. I saw how close we were trading to the 115, but we just tested it, right? I mean, so often when I look for these swing fails, that's the exact level. And if we end up losing that, that's where I start to think that, there's no chance of reversal. But since we held that, and I saw us trading right there, it was just one of those times where I'm looking for an extremely tight invalidation setup, and this same type of thing, right? There's a good chance it doesn't work out. I already closed a quarter of it. I went earlier than the 0.5 fib just because, since it did technically still set a lower low, right? I'm just a little antsier to start taking profits. So I did already hit one of my take profits, but if we end up reclaiming the whole range, that's where we're actually looking at over a 20-to-1 risk reward just because of how tight that invalidation is. So that's basically the main reason why I took that position, and we'll see what happens with it. If the remaining 3 quarters gets stopped out for that very small loss, so be it. I'm actually considering loosening that very slightly just because of something like this. I might actually loosen that up just very slightly. Just because we have a new micro Stuber fib there that has formed. But still, the risk reward would still be 11-to-1 on something like that. But we will see what happens there. Solana, basically same thing. I hit my first take profit, right? We had the same thing, right? We came right down to the 115. Unfortunately, I never checked it till after I got into my Bitcoin one, so I ended up getting in this a little bit late, but closer to the 886 here. Hit my first target so far, and on this one I bumped my stop loss to break even already. I know I'm going to be sidetracked with this stream and whatnot, so whatever. If it gets stopped out, we'll see what the Bitcoin one does at this point. Troll, I am in a 10x long position from 9 cents, so that is currently up big. Also the spot position, I mean, you guys know, I think it was about a month or two ago I was talking about the Stuber fib on this thing, and it absolutely exploded. At this point, it's not even a micro cap anymore, right? We're at about a $225 million market cap, so it's still not that big on the grand scheme of things. It's still not one of the top few meme coins by any means, but I love how it held this support. Same thing. So for you meme coin lovers out there, I mean, at this point, yeah, it's obviously had a beautiful run. So yeah, you're buying in a little bit late if it happens. So obviously you do your own research, form your own opinions. I'm just saying from a technical point of view, and being a holder of this from down significantly lower, this thing looks beautiful, right? Same type of strategy that I would look at with Bitcoin or Solana or anything, right? We had this range. We had our high, our higher high, higher low. We pull a fib, something like that. Obviously, that's where my purple box comes from. And look where we ended up holding support. We never even broke down into this liquidity grab zone, this swing fail zone. So far, so good. We'll see what happens with that. With the Trend Master, I also love to see that we got a higher buy signal, right? A slightly higher buy signal on this. Now they are conflicting because we had a lower sell. We ended up breaking that resistance. So there's still a lot of things favoring the bulls at this point. We have this buy trend on the MDX Trend Master indicator. We also had this downtrend. I know not everybody loves diagonal trend lines, but as far as what it is, we ended up breaking above this level, coming right back down, retesting it, and launching again. That being said, full disclosure, I never feel, something that I don't like to see is this swing fail, right? The fact that we got a little wick above the all-time highs here and then ended up losing it and now having a hard time regaining that. But again, momentum, I would still say, is in favor of the bulls on that one. It's just something to be a little bit cautious of is all. But yeah, that thing, absolute moon mission. Just since retesting this earlier today, it ended up pumping 30% off that. So very volatile, guys. Understand that when it comes to meme coins. And especially the low cap ones. I mean, they're so volatile. I mean, this pullback, guys, I know a lot of people would say, well, this is pumped so much, I mean, it needs to pull back. Understand, this range did pull back 50%, right? There was a very big correction there, but it just held on to the technicals very nicely. And so at least it never straight up rug pulled, right? As far as Bitcoin goes, still trying to hold support so far. The weekly, guys, I don't love that we have that RSI divergence that I've been warning about for a long time. But again, support is support until it's broken. If we end up losing this support level, then yeah, we have to consider the possibility that we're going significantly lower. Which could end up taking us down all the way to about 104,000, really all the way back down to 98,000. The thing that concerns me about that is we would be losing that higher low structure, right? So I would have my concerns about that, in which case we might be going for a much larger swing, but it is way too early to be, at this point, I don't want to say that we are coming down to these levels because we still are technically at support here, right? On the 4 hour, I want to bring up the Trendmaster indicator. So we do have a sell signal, and this is one of those times where those of you who follow along and know some of my strategies like this know that this is one thing that also gives me a little bit of additional confluence for pulling a fib. Because I know with that swing fail, it's a little bit sketchy, the fact that we never really had much for candles closing above that resistance before pulling back. But we did get a slightly higher sell signal, right? My crosshairs there, you go across, it is slightly higher here. Often when you end up getting a higher sell signal like that, you also end up getting a higher buy signal. And so in that case, I like to pull a fib something like this, right? If this is where we ended up bottoming, that's where we got our pivot and then got our buy signal. Basically pulling a fib, just using that signal as additional confluence to my Fibonacci strategy. So again, it doesn't have to play out, but I love to see that there is something lining up with it. As well, the MDX ALGO master with the auto fibs has the exact same fibs as me. So that is also confluence that I love to see with this. So at least, again, if it's a losing trade, whatever, it's going to end up being a very small loss. What kind of a move would this be if I end up hitting my average entry? It will be down about 1.2% at a 5x leverage. So it would be, approximately, 7 or 8% loss, something like that there. If that ends up happening, I'm okay with that just because of the potential bounce that we could get if the bulls are going to step in at this level, basically. So that's kind of what I'm checking out on the 4 hour. Volume delta is above us, so there is some things that are starting to show resistance, right? For one, obviously there is a sell signal. Even though it's higher, it is still a sell signal on the Trendmaster. Volume delta, point of control there above us a little ways. Liquidations, kind of the same thing, right? It's actually very close to the same level. Where we have this orange band here, that would be basically the moving average for high leverage liquidations. So that often getting tongue-tied, acts as support or resistance. So the fact that we lost that, also not really a good look for Bitcoin right there. And we are starting to print some supply zones above us, right? All these red boxes showing as resistance or supply. The one thing that I love to see about this, actually, let me erase this. That might not be a thing. No, I thought we had overlapping demand zones there, but it was just my own box. So, but either way, we do at least have a demand zone, this green box here, lining up with my own support box there, the swing fail zone. So, just a little bit of additional confluence suggesting that at least there is support down here, right? So I'm not saying that we can't go lower, but I would always rather buy support and sell resistance. I don't really want to take a FOMO short just because support looks weak. I don't want to take a FOMO short right into support, right? I typically don't like shorting support, just like I don't like longing resistance. Very much the same thing. Ethereum to me looks like it could pull back significantly actually still. On the 4 hour here, just kind of going by the same thing, right? If we have our trend master indicator where we had our most recent, our highest buy signal on the trend here, that would basically be our Fibonacci's from there. If we have something like this, if I bring up the ALGO master, actually same thing as Bitcoin, right? It's seeing the same type of structure, and that would suggest that Ethereum could technically, I mean, the 786 is down around 3,670 US dollars, down to about 3517. And then of course our double bottom swing fail zone would be about 3353 all the way down to about 3135. So if that's going to happen, I mean, that could be a significant pullback for Ethereum yet. What kind of a percentage would we be looking at? If we ended up grabbing that, that could be a 25% move to the downside. And you guys know, I've been quite vocal about this for the last couple of months, that I'm actually significantly more bullish on altcoins than I am on Bitcoin, just for this phase of the cycle, basically. But understand that if Bitcoin ends up pulling back, that does not mean that altcoins are immune to that. In fact, I think that altcoins, as Bitcoin drops, generally altcoins drop even harder. It's just that at this phase of the cycle, I'm still expecting altcoins, when support steps in, that they're going to get those more aggressive bounces. Basically, as long as Bitcoin dominance is, I'm going to say looking healthy, but that actually means to the downside, right? But we're losing some trend lines, right? I pointed this out last week that we had this trend line on the weekly. We are starting to lose it and even flip it into resistance. You can see we actually had another touch point, very pinpoint accurate touch points on this trend line. And the fact that we end up respecting it from the bottom, flipping that support into resistance. Something to be aware of, right? If that Bitcoin dominance continues dropping off a cliff and the prices of prices of Bitcoin maintain relatively healthy, that's a very good sign for the market, because that means Bitcoin's holding its price without even trying, without focus on the king. That is a very nice divergence to have. So I would love to see Bitcoin hold support, see Bitcoin dominance drop off a cliff. That would just be so healthy for the altcoin market. That does not mean it's going to happen, but at this point we are still flipping this support into resistance. So unless we end up breaking and reclaiming that and actually holding above it, not like what we did here, but if we can actually get above and then hold this as support again, at that point we might see a deeper correction in the market in general. I think that would actually be, for the short term at least, short to mid-term, that would be not a good look for altcoins. And I would consider, even shorting a few things if that ends up happening. But we'll see. At this point, not too worried yet. Hype. What do we got going on hype? Oh, Eugenia says, my voice is starting to cut out. Is anyone else having issues with the voice? Is Discord cutting in and out for you guys, or is it good for most of you? Hopefully it's not too bad. Adrian, it's still fine? Okay, if a few more people start saying that it's cutting out, we not very much, just short bits. Okay, let me know if it gets quite bad. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, definitely let me know if it gets bad again. With hype, I mean, I'd pointed out this resistance last week. So far, that bearish Stuber resistance pocket is acting as you would kind of expect. Here we had our high, we had a higher high and another higher high. We ended up losing that trend. That's where I start looking for those fib retests, right? And lo and behold, we end up testing that fib pocket perfectly, getting a rejection. We have hit the 0.5 target already, working our way down towards the 214. And that, you guys, I mean, I know a lot of you guys at this point are very familiar with why that 214 target is there on a classic Stuber fib setup. That would basically be my opposite 786, right? They actually overlap perfectly in this example. That's not always the case. But that is basically, I would not be surprised to see hype drop a little further. If that ends up happening, that would be around $38.58 down towards $37.18. And then we'd still have that liquidity grab zone potentially, which goes all the way down to about $33.50. I have a feeling we won't drop that far. However, the market doesn't always give a shit what I think or how I feel. So, I mean, just understand that from a Fibonacci pull from a range of support, basically anywhere from 38.58 down to 33.50 is fair game for support for me. That's basically where my support starts. What other coins were requested? AVAX. We had an AVAX request on the 1 hour. I don't normally trade this one or anything, but I think last week we ended up looking at this and I was looking for a potential pullback to about $21.73. And the 886 would be about $21.18. And then our swing fail zone would be down to $19.75 basically. But support for me, the level of interest for starting support would be the 786 around $21.73. So far, that's looking fairly healthy. The one concern I do have about this setup, I mean, it's great. We obviously broke a mini downtrend over here, which makes this a valid fib pull. However, I would feel so much better about it, about momentum on the bulls side, if we would have ended up breaking above this high. If we would have broke above that high, I would feel a lot better about this support zone, just because it would have that added confluence of, just momentum for the bulls. Even if we lost it and came back down, at least that point you have set a higher high, giving us a beautiful higher low. So that could be a better setup, honestly. However, it is what it is. Support would still start around here for me at this point. If I bring up the Trend Master on the 1 hour, I don't really like how that looks right now on the 1 hour. I would consider waiting for a shift in trend on a shorter time frame, specifically down in this area before getting into longs, for example. The reason I say I don't like this, even though there's a buy signal here, we might get a little bit of a bounce, is just like what I was talking about before, right? We currently have lower trending buy signals and lower trending sell signals. So at this point, the MDX Trend Master is showing us there's an obvious downtrend that is at play at this time. So depending how you feel about that, I mean, it's obviously risky to just start longing against that at this point. If we let's say we end up getting some sort of a bounce here, get another lower sell signal or a higher sell signal. Actually, best case scenario, we do break that level, get a higher sell signal, and then get a higher buy signal. That would be a great sign that the trend is shifting, much like the opposite of what happened here, right? But yeah, at this point, I'd still be looking at support in this level, right, down to about 21.73. But just understand that there's a few things working against that right now, so it is a little bit risky. I would definitely, if I was looking for leverage plays specifically, I would definitely be looking for a shorter time frame to line up with that. Like I'd be zooming into the 5 minute, for example. I mean, right now there's technically possibly a smaller range, something like that. There may be a bounce play from here to hit your first and second targets, but playing it safer and waiting for that 1 hour setup, I would be looking for that type of thing, a smaller one down when we start getting into that purple box, or even looking at the 1 minute or the 5 minute and waiting for the Trend Master to shift directions, right? Same thing here on the 5 minute, right? When we got our first higher buy signal, I mean, it was a nice sign there that things may go to the upside. But when we started printing lower buy signal and then lower sell signals lining up like that, it was just a sign, again, a warning from the Trend Master. The Trend Master, right? Good at pointing out a trend. When that trend reverses, it very nicely draws your attention to it, right? I mean, it's easy to say, oh yeah, just zoom out and you can tell what the trend is doing. But to actually see these signals printing like this really draws your eye to it and really helps to warn you, right? If you were in a long for any reason, let's say back here, for example, let's say you took a Stuber fib, something like that, boom, got in right at the 786 there. Let's just see how good that lined up right there. So let's just say you took that and you got into a long. When you start seeing this shift, even back here, right, that would have been your first example where you got a lower sell signal. Hey, maybe it's time to take some profits, right? But then up here again, same thing. When you start getting those lower sell signals, maybe it's time to start taking some profits, because I know most people look at indicators as a way to get into more positions, right? This indicator is going to make me get into so many positions and I'm going to make so much money, right? That's the idea. Honestly, what I really like about indicators is using them as risk management, using them as confluence. To me, it's always market structure first and then look at the indicators after that, and also using the indicators for reasons to get out of a trade, right? If I was in a long right now, hey, another lower sell signal printed here on AVAX, I would be, considering playing the downside rather than the upside at this point. Even though it could absolutely bounce from support here, you're just kind of working against the trend, right? So that's kind of how I like to use the MDX Trend Master. That's probably my favorite indicator, honestly, other than just making the beautiful colors with the trend dynamic. That's probably my favorite. Like I said, Troll still looking just fantastic. The 4 hour, what do we have here on the Trend Master? We are still holding that pink line, right? Here's another example, you guys. I think I pointed this out last video, but right here, this is where, so notice we have this buy or this sell signal, and here we have a slightly higher sell signal, and then we end up getting a slightly higher buy signal. That was the first time in this chart's history that those lined up like that, and look at the type of move it got. Not saying that that's typical, but so often, especially like at this time, I mean, the market cap would have been like 10 or 15 million only. So especially with low cap coins or new coins, the first time they end up showing that on the Trendmaster is so often a beautiful warning that there is about to be a trend kicking off. So, that's just a perfect example there. I mean, I was already buying this back here for the Stuber fib purposes, but then having that, that was just another beautiful sign there. And that's just another example of how I use the MDX Trend Master like that. So that was a beautiful one. And the fact that it's still holding that so far. So really no concerns about the trend of this thing, as long as it's basically keeps reclaiming very quickly, getting above this pink average buy trend here, holding beautifully. That being said, let's hop into another total shit coin here. Mask, cat with mask. Notice I have something very similar lined up, right? This is the first time in this coin's history. Actually, let me start with without the indicator here. Is notice that this is the first time in this coin's history that it's had a nice big 4 hour Stuber fib like this. Very similar to what Troll had, for example. And again, fairly low market cap. I think it's a $7 or $8 million market cap. I could be wrong on that. I'd actually have to double check. But either way, it's one of those meme coins that has a bit of a community on social media. It is, like I said, trading at a 4 hour Stuber fib. And with the Trendmaster indicator, much like what I was just talking about, is we had our first ever higher sell signal. So I already went over how that's one bit of confluence I love using for pulling fibs like that. And on top of that, I'm just expecting that before long, I don't know, in the coming days, and it is early for me to say this is totally just a gut feeling, but I really have a feeling we're going to get above that and print a higher buy signal. And I think that's going to be a warning that that coin's going to take off. So again, obviously do your own research. These are low cap meme coins, the trash of the trash, right? There's the stock market, the penny stock market, there's crypto, and then there's this, right? It is the wild, wild west of the wild, wild west. Understand that if you're, taking positions on low cap coins, with low trading volume, for example, and if you're just aping in with size on something that, you know, some of these have very low market caps, you might cause a bunch of slippage on yourself. So that's also another added risk with playing meme coins. Something like this, I mean, at least it's in the millions. I mean, you see a lot that are like in the tens of thousands of dollars in market caps. So, but yeah, this one looks good. To me, it is a buy. I was buying this actually right before starting this stream. I bought some more of this one just because of where we're sitting currently. IQ, I definitely mentioned this one in the micro. Actually, all of these I was talking about in the micro gems chat. But I actually had this. This is actually the current Stuber fib we have. So this thing could actually pull back. I really don't think it will come back this far again. But we had very much the same thing I was just talking about, right? Trendmaster, we got a higher sell signal. We got a higher buy signal. And on top of that, if I just erase everything here, we had a beautiful Stuber fib as well. At the time, we had something like that. So we were trading right in that fib pocket. And then on top of that, for Confluence, we got the higher sell and the higher buy. I mean, that was a beautiful buy right there. So that's just throwing two of my strategies together, right? My two favorite strategies. And that was a very nice move, right? Off the 886. Let's actually call it from the middle of the pocket, because a typical Stuber fib, I'd be laddering in the 786 and 886. So for example, that ended up getting a 164% move. From the 886, it was about 190%. So a very large move off something like that. And I mean, we'll have to see what happens from there. But Project 89, another random meme coin here, but same thing. I liked that we now currently have a higher buy signal. We also had, and guys, I understand not everybody's into trading meme coins and stuff, but just as far as using this as examples, just because it's things that I am, you know, buying and looking at the charts and still using the same strategies, whether it's Bitcoin or total shit coins. Basically, I was looking at something like this. Let me actually get rid of the Trendmaster, but I was looking at resistance rather. Where did I have it? I had it basically from this wick here down to here. So basically this whole wick of the middle of this big ass range here, we ended up actually breaking above that and now flipping this range into support. So I just really liked the way the chart looked on something like that. And then with the Trendmaster, we also have the first ever daily buy signal. It's not a higher one. There's obviously not two yet, but being it's the first one on the daily, we have that lining up with our support as well. So a little additional confluence there. And then on the 4 hour, like I said, we ended up printing a couple of higher buy signals here. So yeah, just a neat little way to use the MDX Trendmaster there. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, guys, a lot of altcoins look like they could pull back a little further. Speaking of that, I assume the rest of my Solana, yeah, would have got stopped out. Bitcoin, that one would still be going. That one might hang in there. We'll see. Like I said, if that one drops, I will be laddering into my swing position on that, because the scalp is obviously high leverage, very tight invalidation, and the swing is more lower leverage, looking at laddering in. So yeah, how's everyone else feeling about the market? Do you guys, like I asked earlier, are you guys terrified of this dip? Are you buying this dip? Is there anything you're avoiding or paying attention to? Like me, for example, I mean, the coins that I'm mostly trading as far as spot are meme coins right now, just because of where we're at, where they're sitting, the volatility involved with them. And honestly, Troll has been a bit of a hedge on the market. I was actually talking to my brother earlier today and mentioned that even if the market ends up correcting, I feel like Troll is going to troll the market. And it, like quite often recently when the market has been pulling back, Troll has actually been a bit of a safe haven and climbing while the market pulls back. So that one has been moving beautifully. Like I said, I really like where Mask is sitting. I know they have a bit of a community. I know they have some KOLs shilling it and stuff like that. And the fact that we're down at support, a lot of them would be, you know, their bags would be sitting pretty low. It's only a matter of time till they start shilling again. I don't know. There's just a lot of things lining up with that one. And obviously, I treat meme coins, especially low cap ones like that. I always treat meme coins like it's the Solana casino, right? It's boom or bust. Don't get stupid with your position sizes on meme coins. I mean, I know I saw so many people on Twitter today talking about getting totally bent over on Kanye's new coin. Like, well, what the fuck did you think was going to happen? I'm sorry, you guys. If any of you guys lost a bunch of money on the Kanye coin, I really hope that since you guys are here, you're smarter than that. But like, even if you look at it, like there was no USDC locked into the liquidity. The only liquidity locked in, to my understanding, was the coin itself. Anybody who made a bunch of money on that, the few people who made millions of dollars, didn't even buy it. Like, when you look at the transactions, I'm not going to pull it up, but if you look at the transactions, those who sold millions of dollars with have no buy price in there. Like, it's just that, what was it, Libra or whatever? It's the same thing. I mean, people really need to stop fucking around chasing those 15 minutes of fame, fucking celebrity coins. Like, don't get me wrong, coins are coins and shit coins are shit coins. And yeah, I'm sitting here talking about meme coins like Troll, for frick's sakes. The difference is, something like Troll, at least that I would say that it is arguably the most recognizable meme in the world. From a multi-generational point of view, everybody kind of knows that troll face, cartoon face when they see it, right? I mean, as far as onboarding normies, people who aren't in crypto and want to start getting into meme coins, they're going to recognize that one right away. There's actually some sort of a culture behind that and a history behind it, rather than, you know, some idiot celebrity just creating something out of thin air, not even locking actual money in behind it, and then people getting bent over from that. So understand just how often that happens, especially in the Solana meme coin market, just how many coins rug pull. Like 99.9% of them end up rug pulling. So understand that before getting in meme coins, obviously. Bitcoin dominance really looks like it wants to try and make another run for this. And if it does, I have a feeling it's going to break through. And if that happens, I have a feeling the market pulls back further. But it's a little early to say that. Alts diving is BTC looking to wick down. Yeah, I really think I'm tempted to get into a new Solana long. This isn't a very good Stuber, to be honest, but I do like that we're at support. Yeah, like, part of me really thinks that Bitcoin is going to drop towards 110K. I really have a feeling we're going to fill most of this box eventually. But that being said, you know, Bitcoin can drop over $2,000 more, and in my opinion would still be very healthy. I think that if we can drop into this box and reclaim it, I think we're still in a very good place. We lose that box, I feel very differently about that. At that point, even if we got a bounce, I would be tempted to short resistance on a retest. If we ended up dropping something like this below the green box a little bit, I would be very tempted to be throwing in shorts on a retest, something like this. But at this point, we don't have that. Just like to stay ahead, plan ahead. That way when it actually happens, you aren't totally blindsided. You have a bit of a plan. Yeah, I did see that 4-hour sneaky close. Exactly. It's it looks weak. And what, we closed below these candle bodies, I think. Not on my BloFin chart. Actually, bang on. Pretty bang on. Actually, speaking of that, I want to check something. I want to see if I have my RSI set up. Kinda. It's not quite where I'd want it. I'd really like this RSI to be even deeper when we set our low here, just to have a much more exaggerated RSI divergence with that double bottom like that. But yeah, if we close a green candle body like that, I mean, that looks like basically a perfect double bottom. It looks weak right now, but with a green candle close, that could be okay. I would still bet on some sort of a liquidity grab, but not necessarily. Binance closed below, and Coinbase closed below. Okay. This one never. And I really like to see candle bodies closing past the wicks. When candle bodies close in the wicks, I still consider it double bottom. But we have about 11 and a half minutes until this candle closes. What is the 1 hour? What does the RSI look like on the 1 hour? Same thing. Don't really have that exaggerated divergence that I was hoping for. We do have some other things like a potential reversal on the Wave Master indicator down here. Yeah, bit of mixed signals, but I would always rather be a buyer at support. That's really what it comes down to for me. Money flow flipping red. It is just the 5 minute. Yeah, a little bit of mixed signals, not gonna lie. And daily close will be fun. Yeah, let's check out the daily. I mean, kind of the same thing for me. Yeah, the daily close would definitely be lower than the daily close, but I would actually be looking at it as something like this. I'm going to make it yellow as a cautionary zone. Something like that. But until I could consider that a double bottom on the daily, I would need to see basically tomorrow's daily candle close green in this level. I think tomorrow's daily candle could be telling, especially if it ends up doing something like, let's say we open basically where we are now, wick below, but end up closing a green candle. That would be beautiful in my opinion. Beautiful double bottom, beautiful fake out, beautiful liquidity grab. It would have a lot of things going for it in that case. Yeah, quick to 110K and bounce. I absolutely agree with you. See, my 115 is right at about 109.9 thousand. I agree. I totally agree. That's very, very possible. CME had the daily open already. All right. What is the ticker for the CME again? Is it BTC.1 or something? Or is it BTC1 exclamation? Haha. Thank you. Yeah, so we did already open. Oh yeah, I guess that would have closed a few hours ago, hey, or 2.5 hours ago or so. So yeah, that definitely has a close below our little bit of structure here. That's for sure. Still have a buy signal, and see, so that's another thing. Even though we're below that buy signal right now, we still have this invalidation of the trend holding on. We still haven't lost that. What's the 4 hour looking like on this chart? Ooh, basically a double top sell signal. That could be rough. We have officially lost this higher buy support level as well. Yeah. We're definitely at a make or break point. I'll give it that. I will give it that. But hopefully for this 20 to 1 risk reward's sake, I guess 11 to 1 at this point, I hope we get this nice bounce first. If 110 to 11, or sorry, if 110k to 111k does not hold, we might have some capitulation during weekend into these levels. Yeah, some liquidity targets you got there, like the 109.8. I totally agree with that. If we start losing that down to that 107, 105, that whole area, then I think that's where we end up targeting that that lower fib that I was talking about. Basically this one. Guess I still have it mapped out on this chart. Perfect. Liquidations, do we... You know, so here's something interesting on this 4 hour chart, actually. When I bring up liquidations levels, there is starting to be a bunch of high leverage liquidations above us again that basically line up with that's actually kind of funny. Notice where all that liquidation ends. All that liquidity goes up to that 214 Stuber target, and that's basically the rest of it for now. Obviously, as the price moves, though, you know, we're going to see new liquidity pockets popping up and that sort of thing, but it makes sense to seek that as a target at least, right? There's more additional confluence there. At least there is liquidity up there. So far, Biddy hanging on. I have a feeling Solana's going to bounce there. Sorry, just going through my positions to just double check that things are closing when they're supposed to, etc., etc. I probably shouldn't admit this, but it turns out I had 2 Solana positions open. I had one open on another account, and that is still running. So, you know what? I do technically still have one. It's a little shittier. It's actually from up higher, but we'll see what happens with that. I do want to see Bitcoin make that run. I would honestly kind of want to see us dip into this green pocket. If we could end up going down to 110k, that would be beautiful for the swing position. It's always uncomfortable when you don't go straight to the upside, of course, but I mean that would gain for a much better position if it plays out. Is anyone else in any interesting positions? Is anybody taking longs from these levels? Is anybody shorting into support? I guess that's the more important question. I know everyone knows that, you should buy low, hence buy support, and sell high, sell resistance. But when it actually comes time to putting that into execution, a lot of people have a hard time with that. Like right now, it's absolutely uncomfortable taking long positions right now. It looks weak as fuck. But that's what buy levels are. Buy levels are those support levels. Another thing to take into consideration with this is, I know during Max's short little live stream last night, he mentioned this as well, right? The fact that our current support is lining up with this old resistance. That's a perfect resist support flip. So that's just another little bit of confluence going for us right there. Look how accurate that is. I can go up just slightly, but look how accurate that is. Look where we bottomed out here so far. So from a resist support flipping perspective, from a higher high, higher low perspective, there's a lot of things going for this right now in favor of, I would just rather buy than sell at this level. Adrian, I like it more when we spike up and fail at 120k straight to the bear market. That would be pretty funny. That would be pretty funny. I think what would be even more hysterical would be if we got something like this, another higher high. Find support right now where we're supposed to, hit something like this, and then bear market on. If this played out in... See, I don't think that the market cycle will end by that point personally, but man, would that upset a lot of people if we set another higher high. But just check this out, just to show you what I mean and why that's absolutely possible. That would just be another swing fail setup, right? Just going up but not quite breaking the 115 fib, which would be around 126.5 thousand at this point. I could absolutely see something like that playing out. Even if it never actually went there, but let's say we just got a rejection to either the first or second Stuber fib target, right? But I could absolutely see a rejection when we get our third touch point of that trend line. In fact, when we get up to that trend line, I will absolutely be watching it. And if we end up getting another swing fail, let's say, something like go up here, swing fail, retest that, I would love to short that retest in that case. I'm not desperate for shorts right now by any means. Stu Bear is still hibernating at this point. But I would love to play something like that. Let's get the real fib back up here. Um, 120. You'll give it a bit more room. Oh, shucks, thanks. Yeah, that would be funny though. Hit 128k and then just nuke down. Man, would people be upset. Another higher high and just fucking with our emotions again. Oh man. Another sneaky close, but on the daily, you say. Yeah, exactly. I can't really draw a conclusion on this daily candle, to be honest, because it's not a close below my double bottom box. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't look great, the fact that we're closing candle bodies below these bodies, for example, but if today's candle, we end up closing a green one with this double bottom formation here, yeah, I would be looking at laddering in some longs again. I mean, I already am, but I would be even more so wanting to ladder in some longs in this pocket if we close today's candle green. Just in case there was a bit of a liquidity grab and then taking off, I would love to try and catch something like that. Yeah, it's still higher sell signals, higher buy signals on the trend master, so we haven't lost that trend yet. Really want to see this Bitcoin dominance drop off a cliff. That would make me feel real good about the altcoins. What's Trolls Daily? Oh, Trolls Daily basically has a double top with a rough bearish divergence. Oh boy. Huge money flow. Even the 4 hour, the money flow is growing to the upside. Still holding the buy trend. Man, Troll has just been on an absolute mission. Oh yeah, what's Mask doing on the shorter time frames? Let's get right into the degenerate. Look at that. That's a 5-minute Stuber if I've ever seen one. Down to the 786, 886 fib pocket, and followed by 5% move to the upside so far out of there. Actually, well, we could even look at, I mean, the thing is, when you're pulling ranges, obviously, remember to play the range you're playing first. You know, something that a lot of traders really have a hard time with, and especially when you're on like social media, you're on Twitter and you follow those like CoinFessions pages and stuff like that. A very big portion of traders, I believe, have a very hard time of letting winners run because they've got wrecked so many times that they're scared to hang on to positions by round tripping. It's like the thought of taking partial positions has never crossed most traders' mind. But there's like, if you pull a fib, I mean, that's obviously the range you're playing. So the smaller the fib, the smaller your profits are going to be if you hit your profit levels. But where I'm going with this is there's always if you're looking at a range, it's always inside a bigger range, and it's inside a bigger range, and that's inside a bigger range, etc. So like I said, there was just that little one that we pointed out there. If you look at this, there's another Stuber fib, right? We came down, hit the 886 on this level as well. And then on the 4 hour zooming out, there's an even bigger one, right? So there's always bigger ranges inside bigger ranges, basically. But if you're playing the 1 minute or the 5 minute, don't expect a 4 hour sized move, right? Start taking profits based on what position you're actually entering on. Start paying yourself a little on that position. And then if the position turns into a runner, fantastic. You still have some running, right? If you're asking yourself, I don't know if I should leave this position or if I should close it. Well, have you considered closing a quarter or half? That is something, we have the technology for that. I did look at Trio earlier today. And I threw up in my mouth. Just kidding. Yeah, it doesn't look great. I'll give it that. It doesn't look great. Red money flow for its entire existence, pretty much. 4 hours still holding. Again, look at that. Look at that. The lower sell signal. There was your warning. If you were worried about your investment and you were worried about it actually making money, there was your warning. If you were, you know, I see a lot of people upset by the fact that this coin hasn't climbed, and I by no means have ties to this coin. I have a very, very small amount of this. I don't really have faith in it, to be honest. But if I had a big enough position in this that I was worried about it, as soon as we started printing those lower sell signals, I would have been selling some and looking to buy back, right? Look at what the Trendmaster did. It warned us so well. Boom. Lower sell signal. That was at damn near $3, right? You could have still got out at $3 US. It is now at 13 cents. So really at this point, like, yeah, guys, I understand I am also down on my position there. But if you put in too much and you're worried about it, That's where you need to start looking for these invalidations rather than just trying to find information that's going to pat you on the back and tell you everything's going to be okay. Like I was talking about at the start of the stream, I love using indicators for reasons to prove myself wrong rather than only looking for entries. They also help you get the fuck out, right? This, for example, lower sell signal, boom, there was another warning at 70 cents to consider downsizing. Boom, down 80% since that signal. So I know that a lot of people at that point already felt like, well, it's got to bounce soon because it's already dropped 80% or whatever. Well, it can drop another 80%. And from here, it can drop another 80%. I promise you it can. I don't promise you it will, but it can. I honestly don't know anything about the fundamentals. All I know is they are based around what, ordinals or whatever, and it's not NFT season. NFTs and ordinals and stuff like that, there's not really any hype around them. I really don't see a reason why this coin would do well until if and when that phase of the cycle ends up coming. The only way I see that phase of the cycle coming is when everybody starts bragging about how rich they are and they don't know what to do, so they start buying $1 million profile pictures and shit like that just to show their wealth. And will we even have that this cycle? I don't know. Everyone wanted this cycle to be different, and then we got a whole bunch of rug pulls in the space, and a very select few groups of people are taking all of retail's money over and over because retail doesn't learn their lesson and keeps buying into rug pulls, hoping to correct the last one they got pulled on. And the cycle continues. So this cycle may be very different where, you know, the end of the bull market looks different than the last couple. Hate to sound real pessimistic, guys. I'm just trying to look at things from a realistic perspective. And, but yeah, I have no idea if anything fundamentally has happened with these guys. No idea. It's better to reverse the chart. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Adrian gets it. Sometimes you just gotta meme about your bags when they shit the bed. And yeah, exactly. That's why I'm kind of laughing at this, because you know what? It was a low cap coin. Any low cap coin, especially, it had such low volume. It was hard to, you know, buy a few $100s at a time without pushing the price on yourself. Like, any coin that has that low of volume and that low of a market cap, it's high risk, right? So it's not too surprising to see it drop. And that just happens. So many coins this cycle are dropping. And you know what? Maybe it reverses. I'm not telling you to panic sell out by any means. I'm just saying, remember, when you're trading these high risk coins, understand that even people who may be pushing them or whatever understand that, you know, these coins can go down. Nobody is immune to that, basically, unless you are the creator yourself and you know how the code works and you're gonna do something yourself. So yeah, sorry to trigger anybody on that one. I know that's a hot topic in this group, but I just want to, honestly, this can be a very powerful lesson. That, and you know what, we have the tools here that were able to warn us, right? Like I said, the MDX Trendmaster, I don't just use it for forcing new trades. I also look at it from a risk management perspective, and this thing warned the shit out of us on the 4-hour chart, and I assume every chart. Right, the 1 hour is going to look very similar. There's going to be a bunch of lower sells and lower buys. Yeah, it's definitely not buy anything and get rich season. Yeah, unfortunately, I think, don't get me wrong, I love the Solana casino. I love the meme coin market, but I understand how risky it is. Whereas, you know, other market cycles, you could basically buy anything and just hold on to it because there was some sort of function or utility, and you could basically buy anything. But the market is so diluted with trash now from Pump Fund and just Solana meme coins in general. Unfortunately, it's a very different market cycle, and you actually have to pick winners this time. We're not used to that, but that is the sad reality. Speaking about the best coins ever, what about our favorite little Trump coin? I will hop into Trump right now. That's one I haven't looked at in a while. But I did. Let me just expand this a little bit. I apparently did have a fib mapped out for quite a while, and we are literally at the 886 right now. So as much as I love shorting this coin, I don't think now is the time. Unfortunately, because God, I had a fun time. Adrian, you know, we had such a fun time shorting this coin in the winter when it was like, I guess from $50 down, basically. We were shorting it this whole way. I haven't traded this one in probably a couple months at this point. But yeah, I wouldn't want to short into that support at this point. Trendmaster indicator. Double buy, double sell. It does look like lower trending sell signals, but again, it's just we are trading into support, so I have a hard time shorting that one right now. Let's zoom into the 1 hour. See, once again, guys, lower sell signal, and look at that, right? We end up retesting that, and we ended up getting a 8.5% correction. So that's I know earlier today there was some people in the chat asking about some strategies with some of these indicators, and I was talking about this one because I talk about this one in every single stream that I do. And this is why the Trendmaster is my favorite indicator. It just really helps point out the trend when you... It's not that I take every signal on its own all too serious, but when they start trending a direction, it really helps you... It helps point out if your bias might be the wrong way, for example. So again, just as far as risk management. And honestly, that goes for most indicators, okay? So that's something that's kind of important, is it's not just that it's the Trendmaster I'm doing that with. You know, I guess I don't really use the ALGO Master, for example, other than looking for my fibs, basically. That one's actually not valid right now. But a lot of people use the ALGO Master instead of the Trendmaster, and that's fine. I assume the strategy would be very similar. If you have higher trending buy signals, they're probably beautiful buy signals, whereas if you have lower trending sell signals, they're probably beautiful sell signals. Obviously not every time. Eventually a trend will break, but that's often a good way to watch for a reversal in a trend. It's a good heads up. Biddy still trying to climb. Let's go, Biddy. Yeah, it was a great blast. It was fun. It was also fun just triggering people about it. But yeah, is anyone else in any leverage positions, or mostly just spot? Anyone extra bullish, extra bearish? Don't know what the fuck's going on. How's everyone feeling? What kind of positions are people looking for right now? Are you like me, where you think that, hey, we're near support, we should be longing and buying? Or are you thinking this support looks weak, I should short into support? How is everyone feeling? Welcome. Hi, Adrian. Welcome to the show.
Hey, I'm too lazy to type it.
Good.
So for me, and please guys, don't listen to me right now because I'm gonna sound so bearish for Bitcoin. The thing is, I seriously don't give a shit anymore what Bitcoin's gonna do. I just really want a failure around 120, and then that's gonna be done. I'm gonna short the shit out of it, just because the last all-time high that we've been there, we hit it on the wick, and we had the freaking biggest sell-off from it. And to be honest, that's a little bit start to get worried to get that kind of sell-off quite often already on all-time high and not really going like higher on it. So technically, there is a lot of pressure from it. Coming back at the third time on it, bro, that's gonna be my bear market build up for short.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to see us lose a macro high or low. Like honestly, I would even feel more open to that idea. Even if we get that liquidity grab down there, I think it's an obvious long
Yeah,
in
I
that
agree
case,
on
but
that.
that would still be a lower low, right? So in that case, I would still be eyeing up some shorts up here potentially.
Yeah, definitely, I agree on that one. But still, like, I don't mind if you're gonna play that out and I can be like underwater on that short like forever. I don't care. But I still like I don't know. I have a feeling that that's gonna be the failure on it. Even if we still gonna wick into like 128, 130k,
Yeah.
still possible because the liquidity on that position is like 20 x's. It's lower, but it's really thick. So it still matter in that position. So yeah, we can wick into that higher all-time high for the last time, and then do the bigger bearish freaking failure on that position. Yeah, all possible. So yeah, I don't know. I have a feeling we are running out of the steam on Bitcoin, and to be honest with you, like we cannot stretch it as that long. There it's gonna be a time one day or another that Bitcoin will fail and will collapse, and we will see each other in the bear market. But the rest of the market still can do this on freaking old season, right? If ETH start pick up and Solana and no matter what, it's still gonna be the old season, right? I mean, we're still aiming for it. Let's say.
Yes. I agree 100% with what you're saying. Well, I have mixed feelings. I don't know. I think Bitcoin can go higher. I agree with you. I don't think it goes too much higher. Like I don't think we're hitting that 400k people are talking about and shit like that. That just makes for as
No.
far as like diminishing returns go and shit like that. Like I'm sorry, I just don't see it unless I guess you never know how much money gets printed and injected straight into it. But
Yeah.
I'm with you. I don't think it goes too much higher, but I think altcoins are just getting fired up. And I think that Bitcoin, even if it doesn't go higher, I think it stays ranging healthy until close to Christmas. It just seems like usually the bear markets for Bitcoin kick off at the end of
Yeah.
December or mid to end December, and then altcoins kind
True.
of follow suit mid to end January. They get like that extra month or whatever.
Exactly. And why happening on the December? Everyone's gonna buy Christmas presents, right? They need the money. They're gonna
Yeah,
withdraw everything.
yeah. Need
So yeah,
money,
definitely.
end of the tax season, or the year end profits. Just the 4 year cycle. Just so many things happen to line up at that same time.
And to be honest with you, like prove me wrong. And seriously, I want it that Bitcoin's gonna prove me wrong, and it's gonna do like a daily or maybe a weekly close, like above 128, like big ass green close above that area. Then, bro, yeah, I'm gonna change my opinion. I'm gonna wait for like longer on that position. But still, if that's not gonna happening, and we're gonna have that big ass sell off, and we're not gonna reach it as that high exactly somewhere over there, like not even matter, but above like even the all-time high, yeah,
Yeah, if a
then yeah,
weekly
that's gonna
candle
be proving me
closed
wrong.
above this, I'd feel better
Exactly,
about it.
exactly. Then I'm gonna be turning around bullish a little bit on Bitcoin for longer, but still, that day that's gonna be coming sooner or later, right?
Yeah, eventually it's gonna happen, and as long as we're watching for those swing fails and stuff like, or the super fib pullbacks after a structure break, at least that point you can position yourself that, what, if this is the end, I can hedge here, but if it keeps going, then your portfolio continues going, right? Like
Yep.
it's or at least even what I did last time, right? When we were trading here, we all know that Stu Bear was out in full force around here, and I did sell some Bitcoin, but some of that went into Troll, some of that went into Ethereum, some of that went into cash, and at that point, like you can always just buy back in, right? I mean, if you're selling here, for example, just looking for, you can trade spot just like you can trade leverage and take those small losses, right? I mean, I was looking at something like this, and like I said, I was selling some at
Yeah,
110.
exactly.
I was selling some at 110, and when we broke 115, I was mega bullish again. And not saying that on
Yeah.
Bitcoin, I have barely traded Bitcoin recently, but altcoins, and they've been flying, right? So yeah, if I was worried about that, let's say we get the same thing. Let's say, bull market carries on and we get something like that. Well, at that point, I would be looking at playing it the
Yep.
exact same, where I would be starting to de-risk here if we got that opportunity, just because even if we ended up doing something like this, well, I can always buy back in then and consider it a
Exactly.
loss, right?
Exactly.
Because let's say we end up taking some profits there. Oh no, if you're worried about missing a parabolic move, or rather, if it's going to go parabolic and you're worried about a 8% move, you're worried about the wrong type of parabola, right? Like, whereas if you prepared for this and started hedging, and all of a sudden everyone who thought that, hey, we're going to go higher, and they make fun of you for selling here with that 8% risk, and all of a sudden they hang on through 85% bear market, well, who was ready, right? It doesn't matter how you feel about it. If you have that chart set up, it's okay to start preparing just in case. And that was exactly my thoughts down here. But there's a lot of sleeps between now and then, so we will see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
Like this
So yeah, let's see
weekly,
how that's
it
gonna play
looks
out.
this weekly, yeah, it looks weak as fuck, but that can change. There's 3 days left in this daily candle, or this weekly rather, and support is support until it's broken. It's troll doing, oh yeah, troll doing troll things, trolling the market. Love it. My safe haven. Oh god, I don't like that divergence though. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like that.
That's a
If the
big one.
RSI goes if the
Yeah.
RSI goes back above 70, that thing is gonna rip though. Mask? Yeah. Let's go, Mask. You got this. You got this. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, normally I'm not a fundamental guy other than Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the one I understand. I mean, I like to think I understand parts of it anyways. But like meme coins, altcoins, I have no real loyalty to them, and I am not bullish on them fundamentally, but at the same time, it's just at the time of the cycle, I am very bullish on them, and more bullish on them than I am Bitcoin, just because of the structure of the charts, right? And the fact that even if it is, whether Bitcoin's already topped or it's going to top in the next 5 months or whatever, I still think that any altcoins slash meme coins that are actually going to survive and thrive in a bull market, they are going to far outperform Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle. Speaking of Biddy, the itty bitty bad boy, Max would be happy about this one. I gotta share this with him. Biddy, the Bitcoin mascot. This one's been doing pretty good today. Bought a little baggie of that last night. The Bitcoin mascot, the itty bitty.
Wait, isn't like are the rest of the market, like all the crypto are not like bitty mascots? Like
Yeah.
the whole market technically it is. Like that was so funny when I was reading about it. This is so freaky funny,
Oh,
but
oh
they did
yeah.
it, and that's nice.
It's funny. It's ridiculous. And the chart is setting higher highs and higher lows. So, like today, I think what is it?
Wait, speaking about it, did you buy it in JZ coin or not?
No,
Didn't you?
the
Okay.
what was it? YZY or whatever.
Why is you? Yeah.
No, no. There was so many red flags. I searched it just to like look it up on my Phantom wallet, and it was like the top 10 holders own 93% of the coins. Well, why are you like? How do people buy into that and expect to not be exit liquidity? Like that's the only red flag you need, nothing else. And why would you buy
Yeah.
it?
Oh. Bro, it was so funny. Like today, I went away for the whole day. I was doing some freaking paperwork and everything before I'm gonna leave next week. And like I realized that, oh yeah, he launched his coin. Like fine, like another meme coin, like or another coin that's gonna fucking pump and dump. I came back and it dumped. I was like, dude, what the fuck happened just in a day? Like,
Oh yeah. Well, the same thing that every meme coin does damn near,
oh,
right? Like it was literally the same setup as that Libra, but people don't learn their lessons. And you know, you got the James Wins shilling it. You got like all the sketchiest people are shilling it. And it's like, oh, but like these people who have this many followers and who have been in crypto this long, like they would take one look at that coin and be like, this is so fucking scammy. They would, you know, they're only gonna have it if they're going to dump on people. Like, yeah, it's I don't know, that's my opinion anyways. But
yeah,
yeah,
but
it sucks.
the
Like
mo
if any of you guys lost a bunch of money on that, I'm sorry, but you have to look into it when you're
yeah, but
trying.
that's on you. Sorry, but that's on your own. Like, if you're gonna invest in that shit, I mean, that's so obvious already. Like, if you don't know that, I'm sorry, but
Yeah. Again, literally all you have to do at the very least check how much of the supply the top 10 holders hold. Like at
exactly.
the very least. If it's a crazy number, then it's like, well, they're obviously going to be looking to dump most of that, right? That's all there is to it.
But bro, it was so funny. Like, I left the house watching like on X, everyone like freaking bullish about that stupid coin.
Yeah.
Coming back, everyone is crying about it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, another shitty day. Yep,
Well, like,
on X.
uh, actually, I gotta
Oh.
see if it's different now. But when I also went and looked it up on Dex Screener here, and there wasn't even locked liquidity.
Yeah, I
What
saw
is
that
it?
as well. Yeah.
YZY?
YCY. Yeah.
Oh, it's still dropping. Yeah, look, it's
Oh,
it's not even locked.
yeah, exactly.
Like, there's literally no USDC locked to this. What? Like, oh yeah,
Oh.
that's loyalty to that coin right there. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I really feel like nobody here actually, well, actually, I have no idea, but I feel like people would at least know not to go with stupid position sizes on something like this, because, like, you just have to do a couple very, very short bits of data accumulation there. Is there locked liquidity? No. Does the top 10 wallets hold more than half the supply? Way more than half. Well, you know, same thing was with Trump coin, right? With Trump coin, the top 10 wallets held 90% of the coins. This one's actually worse than that, but barely, but about the same. And we saw what happened to Trump coin, right? It went from, what was it, like $80 to 8. The coin that literally has the world's biggest stage behind it
Bro, go
did
to
that.
monthly. That's the
Like,
most beautiful monthly candle that you're ever gonna see.
on this thing.
Yep.
Oh, 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 but all it takes is one tweet and it'll go straight back to $100. Okay, all right.
Feel the wick, right?
Yeah, yeah. You keep whatever you're huffing. I'm in. Um, but yeah, how's everything still looking okay? Bitcoin dominance, yeah. I'm glad that never turned into a big breakout there or anything. I'm hoping this dumps. Hoping it dumps. Solana still getting a nice little bounce. Bitcoin's still trying to hold support. 4 hours still holding support with that double bottom. Yeah. Again, guys, I understand the market looks fairly weak, but support always looks weak until it actually bounces. And by then it's kind of late and your risk goes up because your loss is significantly more if you're FOMOing in up at resistance and invalidation for the range is way down here. Either that, and if you don't leave that much wiggle room and you're thinking, whatever, I'll just chase the microstructure, well, yeah, but then you might get stopped out on the same trade 10 times on the way down here. And so, yeah, basically, moral of the story, I'd rather be a buyer at support and a seller at resistance, but always have risk management in mind. Make sure that if you're going to take a loss on a position and you're going to be upset about it, you're over leveraged, you have too much money on the line, the loss is too much. That's unfortunately, sometimes you got to scale down your positions to a comfortable level. Otherwise, you're going to have such a hard time keeping a level head in this crazy market. So do yourselves a favor and don't over leverage yourself. And that's coming from a guy who loves high leverage and stuff, but I also understand position sizing. Anyone new to trading, honestly, in my opinion, shouldn't even use leverage. I would learn how to spot trade and make sure you can do it before throwing leverage in there. And then leverage, I mean, I only use high leverage on short time frames with real tight invalidations. And any sort of swing trades, I mean, in the longer time frame, the bigger invalidations, the lower the leverage. That's just kind of how it works. Long on BTC. I have 2 longs on BTC. My swing trade is currently from 112 299, and I'm going to ladder in if we drop into my green box to drop my price. And my scalp long is from 112.003. And my reasoning, like I was telling these guys, my reasoning for that was basically the invalidation on this setup was so tight, right? The fact that I saw us testing my 115 fib, but we never broke it. I longed that just for the sake that the invalidation was so tight, because that is if we end up getting back to the top of this range, that is a damn near a 25-to-1 risk reward. Not saying it has to play out, right? And I also, as I mentioned at the start of the stream, I already closed a quarter of my position at the 786. But you know, if we end up hitting my other targets, if we make it all the way to the other side of the range again, like a proper swing fail here, that's a 25-to-1, so that's a huge risk reward. So those are the types of setups that it's easy to use high leverage, and it's you know, those are the types of trades, yeah, you don't have to hit every trade to make money on trades like that, because the winners are so much bigger than the losers in those types of situations. Oh yeah, here we go. Just give me 1 second here, just checking something on the old phone here. Oh god, where is the icon? Here we go, here we go. There we go. Lol. But yeah, guys, I guess all in all, moral of the story, I'd rather be a buyer at support. I'd rather be a seller at resistance. As it stands right now, I posted it in the Pro Signals group as well just the other day, that basically I'm looking at this as, you know what, I'm a buyer at support. That's really end of the story. If it ends up getting stopped out, that's fine. Then we see where our range ends up taking us and we look for new positions, but that's kind of how I'm looking at it for now. I am not going to panic about the price action. Yeah, I understand we got this swing fail of all-time highs, and that sucks. You would love to see a proper breakout. I agree with you 100%. But at the same time, even though we got that swing fail, it very well could have played out already, because we retested the whole range, right? We came right down to my higher low on the macro trend, because high, higher low. And so far we're trying to hold support. Whether it holds or not, we are technically still at support. So we'll see what happens from here. But anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. If so, If you're watching this on my YouTube channel a little bit later, if you appreciated me sharing this live stream event with you guys, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Also, for those of you guys watching this on my YouTube channel a little later, if you want access to the MDX algo indicators that I use each and every day, there's a 10% discount link in the description down below for that. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.